Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to my latest video here. I'm going to do a little holiday entry here. For those who are new, I like to make these videos about things that I enjoy and want to share, usually about film, and typically I seem to lean more towards horror or some 80s or 90s throwbacks or films that people don't seem to really talk about much anymore. And before we dive in, if you like this content, please consider giving me a thumbs up, subscribing, and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is once or twice a week, though occasionally I throw in something extra, especially around holidays like this. Stick around to the end of the video and share both this video and channel around, as it really does help out quite a bit. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, I'm kind of starting up on this journey of going through some Christmas-related films, anything that has to do with the holidays. So of course I wanted to find one that was horror-related. So for this one, I've rewatched for the first time in quite a few years, Black Christmas from 1974, the synopsis for which is as follows. During their Christmas break, a group of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger. Not a lot to go on there, but I had seen this one years back and had been wanting to revisit it since I heard that there was a remake a few years back. I wanted to kind of watch the original again before checking out the remake. More on that one later, but anyways, this one does have some recognizable faces worth checking it out for. Of course, we have Andrea Martin in it, who I knew mainly from watching reruns of SCTV, and she was also in this latest season, season 2, of Only Murders in the Building. We also have Olivia Hussey, who many know probably as I do from an older version of Romeo and Juliet from the late 60s. We have Margot Kidder, who of course played Lois Lane in some of the previous Superman films starring Christopher Reeves, and John Saxon, who I'd just seen him in a few films and some of these installments for A Nightmare on Elm Street when I revisited that franchise recently, which of course I will link to that in the description. Now, some people like to refer to this as like the first slasher film, but there are other examples out there. You know, as people go back and forth in that declaration, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and we have a lot of other stuff kind of littered throughout the 70s. But anyways, going a little bit further into this one, yeah, these gals at this sorority house are getting these creepy phone calls from a guy who's breathing heavily, moaning, making gross comments, and then eventually kind of escalating it to where he's just making threats. Of course, the police are investigating this, and people are going missing that they're trying to track down because they're being taken out by the stalker. There's a lot of creepy mystery in this one, which, as I've stated in some of my previous videos and reviews, is that's what really pulls me into a horror film more than anything else, is that mystery kind of happening in the background. And I would also classify this one as a bit of a slow burn, you know, one of those late night films. There isn't anything super shocking or exciting going on. We don't have a lot of over-the-top gore or jump scares happening compared to a lot of more current films. But what we do get is a very, like, this looming sense of unease as these characters, you know, for these characters. And that kind of transfers to us as the audience as well, as we're all trying to kind of figure out this story as it's unfolding. You know, who's behind this, you know, making these calls, where are they even from, what are they doing, who's going to get killed next, and how are they going to get out of this situation. And another one that I want to kind of touch on with this was that when I rewatched it, I watched it on Shudder, which is where, as of this recording, it's currently available. But more importantly, it was available as part of Joe Bob's Red Christmas from December of 2019. That's right, they had the Christmas episode of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, and for those who are unfamiliar, I will also link in the description a quick little review about The Last Drive-In. But basically, as a quick little description, he kind of presents movies and gives us a lot of good information about them. So, you know, I feel like this one can really have a fun and creepy time kind of checking out this slow burn of a film. You know, this holiday time, you know, regardless of how or when it's viewed. I mean, this definitely matches up with the holidays, but I feel like it can be viewed at any time. But I would specifically recommend, if you're able to watch this as part of Joe Bob's presentation, or actually for any film, you know, if he has it available, I always recommend checking out his version of it, because we get these nice little breaks throughout with more information about the film. And it particularly helps with this one that, like I said, it's one of those slow burns. It's a slow mystery that's kind of happening with this horror. And when he, you know, takes a little break in the movie and then he comes in with either a bit that he's doing or giving us more information about the film, I feel like it helps kind of move things along a bit more. But anyways, a little bit more about the film itself. You know, this one really was a great one to rewatch. It really got me into the Christmas mood. Because for me, Christmas films can be ones where the story focuses on Christmas itself. You know, it could also be a horror film around Christmas, comedy, romance, or even just action that takes place around Christmas time, such as Lethal Weapon or Die Hard. To me, it's all Christmas in my book, and especially around this time of year, films like that will always have a special place for me, especially if it's either raunchy comedy or horror, because I feel like that really contrasts with the cheery, warm-hearted holiday feel. Works out really well, and of course, Black Christmas is no exception to that, as we are brought into this holiday season in the film, which turns into a horror mystery and is somehow directed by the same man who directed another Christmas classic, A Christmas Story. That's right, Bob Clark directed this one, and of course he also directed Porky's and Baby Geniuses, so there's that. But and as I mentioned earlier, yes, there is a remake for this one, two actually. I looked up stuff about the first one and found out not only did we get one a few years back, I believe it was a Blumhouse film, but we also had one from in the early 2000s, I think 2006. But unfortunately, both of them were not really received very well, so I don't know if I'm ever going to be really exploring those. Maybe one day I'll work it in. Anyways, I just wanted to drop this quick recommendation for this slow burn, dark Black Christmas from 1974. Some interesting little kills, and like I said, it's a mystery and that slow burn that really holds it together for me. And I really feel that's worth checking out, especially on Shudder. You can always sign up for a free trial if you just want to check out their catalog, but it's always been one worth keeping in high rotation for me. I renew it every time I have a chance. It's just a great way to check out not just this film and not just with Joe Bob presenting, but a lot of other stuff in their catalog. But anyways, Black Christmas 1974, creepy slow stuff, worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest video here. Thanks for sticking around to the end as well. As I mentioned earlier, it really does help out quite a bit. And I will see you in the next one.